Hi, I'm Stacy O'Brien, and I'm going to talk with you today about the experiences of one agency that I'll call SP. SP has struggled with recruiting and retaining a diverse staff. SP was established in 1978 to provide programs and services to older adults in 5 communities. According to the 2010 census, minorities make up as low as 2% of the total population in one community to as high as 41% of the total population in another community. The 3 remaining communities fall in between. The agency itself is not reflective of those statistics. Staff members are diverse in age, education, gender, socioeconomic status, sexual orientation, and religion, but not in race or ethnicity, which limits the reach of the agency. SP is responsible for collaboration and communication with municipal departments in all 5 communities in receiving referrals and resolving problems. Collaboration with other service providers is critical to remove barriers for clients. The lack of diversity prevents the agency from reaching its full potential in areas of community outreach, establishing partnerships with other service providers, and collaborating on projects and grant opportunities. Early diversity efforts in the United States were aimed at addressing the problems of discrimination and underrepresentation of minorities in the workplace, and to some extent, efforts still exist for those reasons. But today, there are still racial and ethnic divides in the workplace, despite policies and scholarly evidence that indicate diversity breeds innovation and creativity when it is managed effectively. Some organizations, however, have recognized that diversity has benefits to its overall survival, and those companies have come to recognize the changing business practices to include the perspectives of all who belong to their workforce can result in long-term success. Social exchange theory posits that organizations and managers can create conditions in which employees feel a sense of obligation to give back through positive work attitudes. Social exchange theory can be used to understand how the organizational culture can create feelings of loyalty and obligation in employees. Using social exchange theory as a framework, SP can consider how diversity initiatives might be developed. Critical to the success of diversity efforts is the involvement of leadership to the engagement of all employees. Engaging employees in diversity efforts is more successful if the majority employees feel included and valued as a part of the process. At SP, trust is generally present between employees, the leader, and managers, which is more likely to produce employees that are committed to their work. Trust is essential in a diverse workforce in which individual differences are seen as less relevant as they would be in a homogeneous workforce. Trust is more likely to be established using an inclusive leadership style in which psychological and social safety are nurtured. Employees who feel part of a culture that produces a trusting environment are likely to identify with and be more engaged in that culture. A strong relationship has been found between inclusion and trust. Both a trusting climate and feelings of inclusion are necessary for employees to embrace diversity practices. When these conditions are present, members feel comfortable taking risks and sharing with each other. For teams, this sharing and risk-taking can contribute to the development of a positive internal climate and more effective teams, because positive internal climate is likely to include interpersonal and task cohesion, which leads to shared leadership behaviors like backing up. Utilitarianism holds that actions are considered ethical when they result in good to the greatest number of people while doing harm to the least. Issues involving diversity, including slavery, education, affirmative action, and gay rights, have been discussed in the perspective of fairness and justice throughout history. Utilitarianism has also been utilized as a rationale to support diversity as ethical based on the positive outcomes for organizations. However, others challenge utilitarianism, stating that it does not go far enough in supporting diversity as an ethical issue because improved organizational outcomes as a rationale lacks both depth and clarity. Instead, others suggest the ethic of care should be utilized to support diversity and move beyond simple compliance. The ethic of care places value on relationships, emotions, and the skills, strengths, and knowledge that each person brings to an organization. As a social service organization that serves diverse communities, the ethic of care will fit well as a rationale and as a framing technique for the inclusion of diversity as an important factor in the long-term success of SP. The leader of SP consistently recognizes the strengths and contributions of each employee. Extending this style so it is more inclusive of diversity will be a natural next step, and the benefits will be clear in creating a culture that values diversity. Employees are stakeholders in an organization, and if their leader, who serves as a role model, begins to model more inclusive behaviors, employees may behave in similar ways, thus helping to foster that climate of inclusivity. The benefits of diversity are many and include increased performance, the ability to recruit and retain the best employees, the ability to reach a greater customer base, and increased job satisfaction. It's also reported that diversity leads to decreased costs and increased value. When people join an organization, they bring to it their unique characteristics, which eventually are embedded in the teams on which they work and in the organizational culture as a whole. When diversity practices are in place and employees believe they are being included in those practices, they demonstrate higher commitment, better performance, and improved well-being. Fuller commitment occurs because employees give full attention to their work and do not feel the need to constantly monitor themselves. Considering the success of an organization is achieved through innovation and creativity, a diverse workforce is more likely to advance ideas that are new and imaginative. Individual benefits of a diverse workforce include greater productivity, work of a higher quality, and improved morale and attitude. Multicultural organizations are more likely to have employees with greater levels of motivation and commitment. To achieve these organizational objectives, an action plan would be beneficial to SP. In considering an action plan, attention should be paid to the role of communication in supporting an inclusive environment. At SP, a variety of teams make up the structure of the organization. There are teams based on departmental membership and teams based on task assignment. Specific teams are expected to interface with members of the community and employees of municipal departments to provide outreach activities, collaboration, and education. Other teams work to form partnerships with community agencies to expand services or to improve knowledge about resources. At SP, teams have difficulty reaching objectives. Team members acknowledge this difficulty and are frustrated by it. The internal team environment of a team of teams at SP lacks shared leadership and cohesion, which reduces their effectiveness. Groupthink, as a result of wishing to achieve consensus by avoiding conflict, results in a lack of creative ideas. Diverse ideas are more likely to be suppressed in situations where groupthink occurs, and individual team members are more likely to carefully select what they are willing to present for team discussion. Some team members hold higher status and use that status in ways that prevent other group members from fully participating. The end result for SP is a lower performing team. The benefits of diversity to teams at SP include increased performance as a result of increased heterogeneity among members and increased effectiveness. Diverse teams are more likely to spur creativity and problem solving and offer a greater number of potential solutions as a result of members being exposed to the unique perspectives, experiences, and ideas of other members. Additionally, groupthink is less likely to occur in diverse teams. The inclusion of employees and clients with greater experiences will undoubtedly improve the performance of teams, team decision-making, and team communication. Team communication can be enhanced by an open, trusting climate in which team members can express ideas, ask for clarification, and freely share information. The positive team environment, referred to as the internal environment, is more likely to promote shared leadership, which is the way in which teams coordinate activities. Shared leadership is an important aspect of team success. Shared leadership, which can enhance productivity and creativity, has been found to be more effective in diverse teams. Team members who share leadership experience conflict at lower levels and cohesion at higher levels, which directly influences the internal climate. Shared leadership can be nurtured through grounding, which refers to the process between team members in coordinating their speech as it occurs. It has been found to be very important in task completion activities where verbal communication is required to accomplish tasks as a unit. It has also been found that grounding had a significant influence on effective communication. In individualistic cultures, virtual communication lessens the influence of the majority culture. The norms for communication and nonverbal cues that are present in face-to-face communication are not present in virtual environments. Due to cultural differences in perspectives about leadership skills, communication styles, and values, cultural intelligence will be a required characteristic for team members. Teams are more likely to succeed if members are culturally intelligent and value inclusiveness. Fortunately, teams at SP have face-to-face meetings often and use virtual communication as a supplement. Communication styles based in cultural contexts will require that team members avoid using slang and are attentive to differences in style. To overcome conflict that may arise in cross-cultural teams, the team facilitator, or SP's leader, will need to ensure the group is provided with clear goals, that conflicts are addressed as they arise, and that the focus of the group remains on solutions to conflict and the task at hand. An impactful intervention for teams at SP will be participation in communication and cultural competency training to help employees succeed as members of teams who rely on electronic communication. The role of public servants is to provide services to citizens based on the policy guidelines they are expected to follow. Nurturing organizational change behaviors in employees is especially important in the public sector because these employees can improve organizational culture as well as the delivery of services and relationships with the public. Decision-making in the public sector often shows a preference for rational, repetitive, and standardized decision-making. Solving complex problems may be particularly challenging. Transformational leadership characteristics may not be most effective, but rather a leader should challenge the team to make use of a shared leadership in solving the problem. This action by the leader encourages collaboration without formal leadership. Cross-functional teams with shared leadership characteristics and diverse perspectives are likely to make strong contributions to solving complex problems. In considering problems and making decisions about change, the leaders should do so with an awareness of cognitive biases and other heuristics that prevent the leader from considering alternative options. These mental shortcuts have a significant impact on decision-making and may take place intuitively. To prevent these errors in decision-making, it will be important for SP's leader to use an analytical process of decision-making that involves deliberate, conscious processes, and critical thinking. Consultation with trusted colleagues and partners can also be helpful. A priority will be to put diversity policies into place. Although policies are the first step, they alone are known not to be the only effect on team performance, especially for whites. Inclusive management strategies must also be in place in order to have an impact on group performance for minorities. Cross-cultural training would benefit SP employees and serve to combat existing ethnocentric perspectives or prejudices. Cross-cultural training should include discussion of communication, sensitivity to rather than specific knowledge about other cultures, and a focus on multicultural competence as opposed to sensitivity to just one specific culture. Intercultural competence, which allows employees to communicate and adapt to different cultural contexts, is preceded by an atmosphere of respect, inclusion, and sincere interest. A successful model for action is offered to prevent ambiguity and confusion by using goals that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound, referred to as SMART goals. The connection made between diversity goals, the mission, vision, and the management of employment are more likely to be carried out because they will be clearly and concisely communicated through SMART goals. Success is more likely to occur when all members of the organization are committed to the goals. Encouraging change in resistant followers can be accomplished by identifying the positive outcomes that will result from increased diversity. Diversity should be a part of the mission and vision while also attending to strategies that ensure interpersonal trust is further developed within the organization. Communicating a vision and mission that embrace diversity and identifying staff who will champion this idea will be important elements in overcoming resistance. Creating the urgency of this message will require planning by SP's leader. SP's leader will also be responsible for initiating an action plan that will set short-term goals. Organizational policies will need to include the expectation that all employees attend cross-training. SP would benefit from immediately setting recruitment goals that reach out to diverse markets and engaging employee teams in identifying those markets. In addition, SP's existing resources, which include a certified diversity professional and an active volunteer diversity committee, should be engaged to support efforts. Human resources employees should be provided with performance goals related to recruitment and retention. Other employees will need to understand their roles as well in maintaining a culture that is respectful, inclusive, and demonstrates culturally competent skills, behavior, and attitudes. It will be beneficial to develop performance goals for all employees that coincide with the diversity elements in the mission and vision. Finally, policies will need to be clearly spelled out regarding expected behaviors and the consequences for noncompliance. Only when these changes are made to the policies, practices, and culture of SP can the agency hope to be successful in improving their recruitment and retention efforts.